Tea is Sri Lanka's banner for tourism, and while we sip our hand-picked artisan Don's Pure Ceylon tea, you must remember that tea actually falls in line with this year's World Tourism Day theme, tourism and green investment. Now, there are countries that have infused investment into going green, which in turn enables the traveller to learn about the environment, meet new people, use sustainable resources and help the local economy. It's the best way to celebrate your love for travel. Welcome to Kaleidoscope, where we are ever ready to travel, but we're also positive, daring, different. A massive thank you to our wonderful partners Srilanka Live, CDB, The Daily Morning and Don's Tea. Did you know that Kaleidoscope is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn? And if you like our show, subscribe and follow us for weekly updates.
CDB Hybrid Leasing. Enjoy exclusive interest rate and much more for hybrids, plug-in hybrids and EV vehicles.
Here's a quick look at the week that was on CDB Snapshot. Something positive to start. Sri Lanka pays Bangladesh its $200 million loan with 4.5 million interest. Tea exports are up to 23.33 million kilos, but total exports for January to August is less than last year. By 2030, Sri Lanka's GDP will significantly surge by $15 billion via the expansion of the digital economy. A rare bill of $10,000 dating back to the Great Depression auctions for $480,000. Walker's Crisps creates the world's biggest billboard by turning 30,000 potato plants into a crop vert.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Srilanka Life.
So welcome to Srilanka Life News Capsule. The UN brought in the Singapore Convention on Mediation in 2018, to which Sri Lanka became a signatory in 2019. Now, WIPO, UN Citral, the International Bar Association, and even India, Singapore, the Maldives and Hong Kong have adopted mediation. Sri Lanka now has its first International Alternate Dispute Resolution Centre, and we visited the IADR Centre at the World Trade Center in Fort. Secretary General and Director of the Centre, Dara Vijaytilaka, stepped in for a chat. So Dara, why are mediation services needed for commercial dispute resolution?
The world has started looking for alternatives from way, way back. It's not just a phenomenon in Sri Lanka. It's not an issue that Sri Lankans alone face, but we are facing that challenge. That litigation is riddled with the evils of delay, expense, and unpredictability. And in the trade and business world, you need to have smart answers, you need to have quick responses. You can't avoid disputes, but you have to find smart ways of resolving those fast, maybe preserving the relationships, because in business that is important. So globally there's a move towards mediation because of the values that it offers.
Looking at the investment landscape for Sri Lanka, how would this dispute resolution centre help?
A few years back, we were being evaluated for our ease of doing business by the World Bank, and it was shown that when it came to the indicator on contract enforcement, we were very poorly ranked because we were below the South Asian average actually. So that's not a good story to tell people who we want to come inspire to invest in Sri Lanka. So we need to change that by offering more meaningful options, and mediation is one of those more meaningful options. The world over, the United Nations, UNCITRAL, the WIPO, International Bar Association, several organizations have taken to mediation because of a respect for the values that it offers.
So what services does this centre offer?
our center offers ADR services, which means arbitration services and mediation services. We are trying to work to eliminate the weaknesses that have been entrenched in the culture of how arbitration is practiced. And I think you know that arbitration is not also viewed as the best method of dispute resolution, because it is also riddled, increasingly being riddled with the same weaknesses. We have rooms at which we can use for mediation and arbitration. We offer advisory services. We offer advice on clauses that can be incorporated into contracts. So the whole gamut of the whole spread of services that are needed to actually implement mediation is available here.
What elements need to be in place for this to really work?
We need to be able to provide quality services. And for that, we need trained mediators. Now, many of us here have received training from overseas mediation service provider, acknowledged and accomplished training entities. We need to improve the infrastructure. So we have this center here. We need to have, perhaps in time, we need to have more. So there are two acts which are forthcoming. One is the Singapore Convention Bill, which the Singapore UN Convention was signed by Sri Lanka in 2019 August, and we are now, I think maybe next month, hopefully it will be ready for presentation in Parliament by our Minister of Justice. Then we have formulated another law to provide for civil and commercial mediation. So we need that legislation in place. We need the legislation because we want to set standards that must be complied with. We want observance, compliance with the mediation process, which makes it unique and different from arbitration and litigation.
And our market sketch this week for a quick stock, oil and gold roundup. At the Colombo Stock Exchange, the all-share price index remained virtually unchanged, while average daily turnover levels dropped to below 1 billion rupees. Oil prices moved up to their highest levels this year, above $91 per barrel, due to OPEC plus production cuts. However, a correction is predicted with US production hitting 13 million barrels per day in September. Gold prices dropped to below $1,900 per ounce as the US dollar strengthened. It's raining wine. In Adadia, Portugal, the earth is getting drunk on wine thanks to 2 wine storage containers bursting and letting forth a river of red. Rebels of Fashion is what the Design Museum in Kensington is celebrating in an exhibit called 30 Years of London Fashion, also featuring some celebrities who have pushed fashion boundaries. This is Cristina Finucci. She is the president of the Garbage Patch State. The world only recycles 7% of its plastic, and by adding this waste to the environment, we have massive garbage patches now as big as the Russian continent. Cristina is an architect and artist who was conferred the Grand Officer Merit Order of the Italian Republic. She works through monumental installations across the globe. One such was the Wasteland Cycle on the island of Mozia, made out of 5 million cups in metallic cages. She was in Sri Lanka for the REBA Members Sri Lanka International Conference, and I caught up with her to find out more about the state in which she is president of.
How did the great idea of declaring the Garbage Patch an independent state become a reality?
Well, I started thinking about that when I read on a magazine that there was an island as big as Texas made of plastic debris. And I realized that the problem was not only that small one, relatively the size of Texas, but there were 5 islands made of plastic debris, whose territory, but you cannot walk on that. The surface, it was 10 years ago 6 million square kilometers. Just to give you an idea, Russia is little more than 70 million. So it was really a continent. So I realized that it was a no man's land. I made a research. I made a constitution, small things like postcards. I made a website, and I've written his history. And at a certain point, when the state was, let's say, mature, I went to the UNESCO and declared the independence of the garbage patch state. I am the president of the largest state in the world, because by now, after more than 10 years, of course, it has increased and it has surpassed the 17 square kilometers and more of Russia. So unfortunately, I am the chief of state of the largest state, but I am also the only chief of state that would like to see its state shrink and disappear eventually.
If you look at the problems of plastics, you are actually, it's not just about bottles and plastic cups. It's a much larger problem, isn't it?
The problem is the microplastic that is purposely put into creams and products, beauty products, and also the microfiber that comes from when you wash a synthetic garment, and it's spinned off millions and millions of microfibers that goes into the oceans, and they are all, of course, invisible, and the fishes eat it together with plankton.
What was your first installation, and how did that progress after that?
The first one was in Paris at the UNESCO headquarters. That was the declaration of the state. So I made a big installation where I reproduced one of the islands, and after that, right immediately, I went to Venice. And I built the pavilion at the Biennale that I already said, but I have done almost 3 or 2 installations, big and gigantic installations.
Now, what's next for the Great Garbage Patch State?
The next installation would be in Yerevan for the Sci Fest, and I'm very thrilled because it's a very new installation for me. Of course, there is some topic about plastic, but also I speak about artificial intelligence, because that's another thing that threatens us.
That was Cristina Fanucci, who is an architect, she's an artist, and she's also the president of the Great Garbage Patch State.
Weddings are always ethereal and always makes us happy. Designer Yasisuri Kiribandara does just that with her latest bridal collection. Having launched her first collection at CFW in 2014, she's taken her designs around the world, showcasing Sri Lanka's contemporary take on design. This collection is about fluidity, movement and emotion, and endless beauty.
It was inspired during one of my travels for some work, where I saw this image of flower petals just floating on water. Actually, it was when I was in Kandy, and it was such a profound feeling for me. Sri Lanka is about foliage, flowers, and water. Everywhere you go, you see water and you see flowers. So it captured my heart, and I really wanted to create a collection that kind of gave that feeling, because it was simple but yet profound. So that's what I caught it by moving fabrics, by flowing fabrics, and by adding flower petals and flowers, 3D hand cut and hand embroidered and beaded onto the fabric to kind of emulate that thought process. So although I wanted to promote this collection to mainly destination weddings or anybody else who wanted to wear it or who liked it, the main idea was that it can be so profound yet so simple, that Sri Lanka is so diverse. And I just wanted to capture that feeling and that emotion behind what I felt.
September is winding down, so take a trip someplace nice and green, and we'll catch you next week.